Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across this beautiful blue-green globe of ours. Welcome to Real News Live. It's a Toxically Masculine Tuesday. I'm your host, Mike Bara in Las Vegas, Nevada. I am drinking a little Buca whiskey along with some Dr. Pepper. I'm going to pour myself some of that and have a drink. And I'm joined, as I always am, by the usual crew, starting with the man to my immediate right, my stage left, Dr. Brooks Agnew, the smartest man in the world, the man with whom you cannot spend 4 hours in a car that you drive the wheels off without becoming smarter. Dr. Brooks, how you doing? How's the house going? And what are you drinking tonight? Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, I am going to be drinking with the Godzilla ice cubes.
Godzilla ice.
I don't have the Trump head ice cubes yet, but I got those ordered. So here we go. All right.
I was countertops yesterday. That's a big milestone for any house. It means you can finish all the kitchen sinks and vanities and all that stuff. So that's what I've been working on all day today. We're about 10 days away from final inspection, and that means we clear the last hurdle and move from construction lending to mortgage lending. So hopefully we get to move in before the end of the month.
All right. And what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking coffee just to keep myself, because I left before sunup this morning. So
TV's Blake Wally. We gotta get Brooks done with this house so we can start drinking manly.
That's right. That's right.
So you can start like having nothing better to do than sit around and drink. And man, going counterclockwise immediately below Brooks, but not below him in any other way, the most toxically masculine member of the crew, the man wearing the cowboy hat, the man who's killed more people than anybody else on this stream, Steve Doran, the trail boss from nowhere, Fuckville, Arkansas. Steve, how you doing tonight? What are you drinking, and how you feeling?
I'm doing well. I'm feeling great. I'm actually feeling really, really, really good. I'm not liking the weather. We're having 97 degrees days with like 100% humidity. Today, we thought the rain would cool us off. It just made us that much hotter. It's like being in the jungle. And I'm drinking copper water.
Copper water. It's 106 here, but I bet it feels cooler than it feels in Arkansas, right?
Well, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrendous. But August is our horrific month. It's the hottest, and then when you get rain, it's just
it's great here because when and now it's monsoon season. We haven't had a monsoon yet, but you can have them anytime. But when it rains here, it just pours and pours for about 10-15 minutes. More water than you can imagine, and then everything just cools off. It steams up a little bit. It's great because it's dry as Mars here. All right, the other last member of the team, the intrepid Cub reporter of the show, the Jimmy Olsen of the program, the youngest member of the crew. He's only 35, girls, ladies. He's ready to settle down, have kids, marry a virgin. TV's Blake Wally. Blake, how you doing? I'm speaking to us once again from the interior of the finest strip club in Nashville, Tennessee. The Lickety Split. Look it up. Go there. It is the finest strip club, and Blake is the owner and manager. Blake, how you doing tonight? How are the girls, and what are you drinking?
Doing well. Great to be here. Yes, I'm in the swanky lounge getting ready for the after party later when all the girls come in. So, yeah, looking forward to that. In the meanwhile, I am going to be drinking this. I'm still working on the Larceny whiskey.
Larceny whiskey.
Not much left.
Yep.
Yeah, you're getting through that faster than I'm getting through the Buca. This, by the way, is a Puerto Rican whiskey, and it's bourbon, actually, that the original Mark Z sent me. A luxury Caribbean spirit, it says. Blended whiskey with port wine. It is quite delicious. All right, guys. Before we get going, I have kind of an announcement that I'm not comfortable doing, and I don't want anybody to get too upset about it or mad about it. But here's the deal: I've been doing this show for a long time. We have a small but loyal audience, and everybody appreciates the show. And it's a different kind of show for me. It's not what I normally do. I normally do aliens. I'm going to interview Gary Nerdrotic in the next month or so. We're going to talk about some pop culture stuff. But this show is our news show. It's Tuesday night. by the way, at Taco Bell Tuesday, I'm going to be having Taco Bell later. And the thing is, it's not paying the bills. And so the time invested in the show is not working for me or the other guys. So what I'm going to tell you is that we're going to give it a little while longer, but I'm going to ask you, remind you that you can Rumble rant us on Rumble and you can super chat us on YouTube. And if you guys would start doing that, $5, $10, whatever, just to show some appreciation for the show, it would justify the cost, time, expense that we all put into being here. We all change our plans a lot. We make time to do this. And we aren't getting any monetization from views because every single show gets copyright claimed by YouTube because guess what? We use clips from the news to talk about the news. So they hit us for that. So it's not generating anything. So I would just like to let you know that we're on notice. We're like the second season of Star Trek. We're about ready to be canceled, but depends. If the audience surges forward, boy dogs for $2. Thank you very much. That's what I'm talking about. Give us a little support here and there. We'll keep doing the show. Otherwise, we may have to find something else to do. With our Tuesday nights, we're all busy men. We're all masculine. We all have ladies pounding on our doors, wanting us to spend time with them, and instead we're in here. So we're here for you guys. Just a little message, just a little request. Thank you very much, everybody. So, all right, let's get into the news a little bit. And, what shall we talk about? Brooks, how about the meeting at the White House yesterday between Donald Trump, Volodymyr Zelensky, and apparently they got Vladimir Putin on the Zoom call and had a little chat with Putin, and seven international leaders, leaders of European countries, which was really, really interesting. So what we're going to do is show you a little video. We're going to start with this. This is kind of pretty interesting, a little bit weird, a little bit bizarre. I want you guys to zoom up. This is clandestine. He's got me blocked. But let's zoom up and see what Donald Trump did when he got these 7 European leaders in the White House along with Zelensky. Let's just check this out. Points to the right, tells everybody to look at that portrait. Let's watch it again. All right, so as we all know, that is a portrait of Donald Trump in the moment after he got shot in Butler, Pennsylvania. The fight moment, which okay, how do I put that in the background again? Remove from stage. Okay, and there are people implying, Brooks, that he knows that one of the 7 people that was standing there with him was in on him being shot, the assassination attempt, and he was trying to show them. He lined them all up, put them in that room, and said, "Oh yeah, look at that picture over there." Do you buy that? Do you think it's plausible that that's what he was doing, Brooks? Because it's a little odd.
I think every single one of them was tuned into CNN, and they were watching every moment, waiting for Donald Trump's head to explode. By the way, CNN showed up first time ever to a live Trump rally in freaking Butler, Pennsylvania, that they showed up with a special camera. Normally the camera is 30 frames per second. This camera was 400 frames per second. It was designed to slow down, slow motion, so they could play the exploding head of Donald Trump and have the exclusive. They were watching. They knew all about it. Okay, so anybody else? Steve, what do you think? It's kind of odd behavior for a president, but this is a different presidency. And do you think he was trying to imply something or let those guys know
I know one of you, or I know all of you, were in on this. What do you think about that theory? Is it plausible?
Well, I don't think they were necessarily in on it, but as heads of state and with the positions that they hold, I'm sure they were told in advance what was going to happen. Tune into CNN and watch the Donald Trump's head explode. But as far as in the planning and the execution of it, I don't think they had anything to do with it. So I think what he's doing is just rubbing their nose in it, like, I'm still here. Whatever you were told didn't happen. And I'm here by the grace of God. So you better start negotiating, or there's going to be big trouble on your end.
Okay, so you think it was a little bit of bluster? You guys, look at them. They tried to shoot me, and it didn't happen. It didn't work.
Well, I'm telling you, every head of state around the world, or most heads of state around the world, knew beforehand that he was going to die, or he was supposed to die that day.
Yeah, and it's interesting because on the State of the Union address of 2020, which I need to make a whole video of that, all of the lip reading that was done before the press conference, all kinds of Democrats and Republicans were talking about he was going to die that night. And that's the night that he refused to shake Nancy Pelosi's hand because somebody put the poison on his hand with one handshake, and the next person was supposed to put the activator on. That was Nancy Pelosi, and he was supposed to have a heart attack and die right there on the stage. So,
I mean, let's face the reality. Anybody who looks at that situation and doesn't think that it's a setup is a complete and total moron. They don't have a brain in their head. There is, in the history of presidential speeches, except for Kennedy, or presidential appearances, except for Kennedy, it was the worst breaches of security ever. And then it happened again on the golf course.
Yeah.
It did the same damn thing. So there's no doubt they were trying to take him out before he was elected and inaugurated. The conspiracy, though, as far as I'm concerned, it involved our government only. But they would have told the other intelligence agencies that they work with, and they would have told the other heads of state, this is what's coming.
Okay, yeah, I can buy that. Wow, let's go through. Laura, $20 super chat. Thank you, Laura. Lee Harris for $5. James Elridge for $19.99. Best show of the week. All right. And JCW 408 for $20. BMX Dice Guy for $5. Thank you, guys. And Wanda, what the heck? Wanda for $100.
Wow.
That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you. Now I got to spread the love around and pay these guys. So, Wanda, that's awesome, guys. It doesn't have to be $100 every week, but $5 a week here and there would be pretty great. Thank you. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So, thanks for coming through, Blake. TV's Blake Wally. What do you think about this particular theory? And if there's a more mundane explanation for why Trump would make sure they all saw that portrait, what do you think it might be?
No, I think you're right. He's trolling them, and perhaps, as you're saying, lip reading, or maybe even looking at their body language to determine maybe they get some kind of tip off of what they knew based on their reaction, or who is in on it, who's not. That could be part of it as well. So yes, maybe it is. He's announcing, he's letting them know that there's the new sheriff in town, and that there could be something coming for them eventually. But I guess time will tell. But that's quite the bombshell from Brooks there. If they had the special cinematic camera, I was going to catch that so they could watch their snuff film over and over. That just shows you the mentality of the elites.
Yeah, you're going a little bit underwater there again with the mic. Maybe move the mic closer.
I thought the StreamYard was supposed to adjust.
Well, it did. It got quiet there, but yeah, that is true. The guy was carrying a special high-speed camera that was able to capture the bullet, and it was supposed to. It was definitely supposed to. He was there to take that photograph. And the thing is, of the head exploding. The thing is, Brooks, is it's not 100% true. CNN never covered any rallies, but but they did cover a few here and there, but very, very rare. It was very odd that all of the networks showed up for that particular rally. They were all broadcasting live at the time. So, yes, they knew something was going on. Go ahead, Prince.
Well, CNN does go to a lot more rallies. They don't broadcast them live. They just are there to record.
Right.
This one, they broadcast live. It was the first time ever they had broadcast a rally live. They wanted to be able to pick at it and edit it and let it out so they could have sound bites. That's why they come. That's why Trump used to point him out and people used to boo him and all that. Listen, there's something else to notice about this line of people, okay? They're trying to put together this special meeting to give some kind of security guarantees to Ukraine, so they'll make a deal with Vladimir Putin. But I got to tell you, this looks like NATO. It walks like NATO. They're not calling it NATO. It's NATO light. But this is exactly what Putin did not want to have in Ukraine. I look for this whole thing to blow up, and the Ukrainians are going to launch some missiles up there to Kursk or some other area of Russia, and the whole thing's going to fall apart.
Paul from Montana, thank you.
All they have to do is stop fighting. Period. Just say truce. That.
And they're still pushing the narrative that it was an unprovoked full-scale invasion by Vladimir Putin and that he conquered, he took over, he invaded Crimea. That is not true. I had people on the ground in Crimea in 2014 who voted, purple finger voted in that election. Yeah. And they voted to accept Russian citizenship because NATO was staging jets to fly into Crimea and take that airport.
And they were putting biolabs on the border with Russia, Soviet Union, I almost said, right, and nuclear facilities where they could make bombs, if not hide bombs, because the radiological readings for the bombs is going to be the same as it is for the reactors. So you could put nukes there. So Putin, I think, exercised extreme patience before he finally invaded to take those areas over, which are all Russian areas. Now, we're going to get into that geopolitics thing a little bit, but right now I want to do a little bit more of the body language of
well, whatever you think, every nation has the right to protect their sovereignty. I don't care who they are. They have the right to defend themselves, and no one else has the right to say they don't.
Yeah, I concur with that, absolutely. Okay, before the meeting, Trump told Zelensky, don't show up unless you're wearing a suit.
Yeah.
Now, this is really interesting because he didn't wear a suit last time he was in the Oval Office. He looked like a slob. I mean, at least he wasn't wearing sweatpants, but that's the best thing you can say about Zelensky's previous appearance. And he was combative. He was argumentative. And Trump told him to wear a suit. And this is how Vladimir Zelensky looked when he showed up to the White House. Notice Trump, he's got the pursed lips. He's a little bit tense. He's sitting there thinking, what am I going to get when this guy steps out? Let's wait and see. What am I going to have to do here? He looks like a dad. He looks like a dad before the son's prom, Am I going to have to slap this kid for not looking nice enough for his girl?
Yeah,
so
let's send him back to the hotel.
Let's watch and see.
Best I had. Pretty face.
We love them. We love them. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, so apparently what he said to Zelensky is, you wore a suit, you look very nice, thank you for coming, that kind of thing. Now, he did wear a suit, but as you notice, he did not wear a tie, a small act of defiance. Well, Dad, you can make me wear a suit, but you didn't say suit and tie. Being a little bitch. By the way, thank you, Deb.
And black sneakers.
And what he was wearing, what? Sneakers?
Black sneakers.
Oh, okay.
And
so he wasn't...
I didn't know Men's Warehouse made suits that small.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing, and what I noticed is different, is he did, and we're going to get into this theme in a minute, he did pretty much comply. So is that, Blake, do you think, a sign of submission on Zelensky's part, or what do you think that meant? It meant something. We just got to figure out what it is.
Yeah, I mean, he went through a PR disaster last time around, so they definitely needed to do something to redeem himself. And I guess that's okay at some measure. I mean, these are historical things that people are going to be talking about forever. There's the pictures and everything. So, show up like you mean it, like it's professional, like you're taking this seriously. He's just used to just having money thrown at him and being propped up and paraded. But no, things are going to change. I think it's obvious now to just about everybody that there's no chance for them to win. It's just a matter of how much do they have to concede, or are they going to continue? And Putin's going to piss Putin off, and he's going to want more land. So now they're going to, go over the details. They set up another meeting that they're going to have Putin and Zelensky in. So there's good progress, and it was a great showing in Friday in Alaska with Putin. So he's serious, and he's a principled guy. So yeah, I think I'm somewhat confident they can get things done, but I know the war machine and the media are going to try to prolong it if they can.
Exactly. Steve, what did you think of Volod's concession to at least wear a suit, not a certain tie, but at least wear a suit? Do you think it means anything? And what do you think should happen to this little punk?
Well, personally, if I was president, I would have arrested him for all of the criminal activity he was involved in the last administration. And said, thanks for coming. The U.S. Marshals are waiting for you around the corner. We're going to cuff you and stuff you and prosecute you. But that's not the way it works in politics. I think what's happening is Trump is taking a hard-nosed stance with the Ukraine on a number of levels. One is they stole money from us. But two, he's sending a message around the world, because another problem that's happening at the exact same time that is being suppressed is you've got all the Arabs taking over the UK. And it won't be long, and they're going to know all the international secrets, because they'll take over, MI6, MI5, all of those agencies. They'll have information at their fingertips. They'll have nuclear weapons at their fingertips. They'll have bioweapons available to them. So I think he's taken a hard line so that when he goes after other nations that are a threat to us, which the UK is now, and it's getting worse every day, that they won't be surprised. And I think part of the negotiation, part of having these other people there, again, we don't know everything that goes on behind closed doors, but I think he's taken a real hard-nosed line, like, you screw with us, and it's not going to be pretty, and you either cooperate or there's going to be consequences.
Yeah, we may have to invade. I saw somebody suggest today that we may have to invade the UK to rescue the white people in the UK from the.
But I mean, if you don't, like I said, if he were to let any of this go, or he were to take a soft line with Zelensky, then all these other countries would be like, the United States is still a pushover. We'll do whatever we want, whenever we want. He's got to take a stand, and he's got to make everybody's shoes pinch at the very least, and put a little fear in their heart that the United States isn't screwing around anymore.
Yeah. Brooks, what do you make of Zelensky complying with Trump's demand that he wear nice clothes or a suit to the Oval Office? What do you think about that?
Well, I'm going along with Steve here. I think that Volodymyr is just looking for more money. He recently said he needs $40 billion a month to prosecute this war. He also said we're not going to give up 1 square inch of land. And people don't understand that Putin is not fighting for land. He's not fighting for territory. He's fighting for people. These are ethnic Russians. They have been Russian in this area for 300 years, and they're being wiped out by the Ukrainians. So Putin is moving in. And by the way, I was so pissed off at Trey Gowdy for saying that Putin should return all the children that he stole, because they're returning them to their parents. I got news for you, Trey Gowdy. They can't be returned to their parents, because their parents are dead, because the Ukrainians killed them. That's how you get an orphan. You dickwad.
Yeah, well, not only that, but these are children that were probably part of the Obama, Fauci, Victoria Nuland child trafficking rings that were going to be trafficked. So I would suggest, if anything, the Russians are probably saving these kids from
they took them to their relatives in Moscow.
from the deep state pedo rings. So, but that's a truth that the world is not ready to discuss yet. I think for sure, and I agree with you. Again, these lands are not going anywhere. And we're going to talk about what happens next here in a minute, because we got a little bit more to go through here, though. All right, there's a couple other things that were really interesting, which was there's some interesting photographs that were taken in the White House, which apparently, the White House made sure people saw. Here is one with the presidents of Germany and France, the UK, Finland, made them wait outside the Oval Office. And everybody said, this looks like all the kids on detention, waiting outside the principal's office before being, getting back in our day, it would have been getting paddled by the principal or the vice principal, and waiting to hear what their punishment is going to be, which is it's a fascinating display of supplication, I think, on the part of these leaders, because there they are. I mean, if anybody was really defiant, like Macron or anybody else, or Keir,
Van der Leyen,
boy Starmer, they would probably not be sitting there like that, all pensive and passive and waiting, and they would be standing or walking, pacing a little bit, looking a little bit more, a little bit stronger. But then there's another couple photographs from inside the Oval Office. And again, if this isn't the principal sitting there basically saying to all these kids, this is what you did, and this is what's going to happen, and you're all going to be, suspended or expelled or whatever. He is laying down the law. And you can just tell by the picture, and he's got the strength of all these military flags behind him. He's got the map on the left there, which shows the area that Russia is holding and is going to hold. And then you look at the other picture of them looking at him, and a lot of them are looking at these boxes on the Resolute desk, which contained, quote, gifts for these people. I don't think there were gifts in there. I think there was laying down the law. Some people have speculated that there were artifacts of some kind in there, or pictures of an artifact like the Ark of the Covenant that's held by Trump in the White House. Basically, he's telling all these people, and look at the two women. They're just like, oh my God. Look at the girl on the left. That she's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. The men are like, this sucks. But basically, it appears to me, this is not a friendly exchange between allies. This is the leader telling the followers, this is the way it's going to be. At least that's how I interpret it. I would love to know what's in those boxes. Your thoughts, Brooks? We'll start with you since you're starting.
Oh, right on. I'm totally with you, man. I don't know what's in those boxes, but it's not chocolates. It's not chocolates. Those people are going to be going home going, oh, my God, I got to put 5% of our gross national product into the NATO, and I got to put troops in harm's way in Ukraine, which is going to set up an Article 5 confrontation. Then we're going to end up at war with Russia. That's not where I want to go.
Yeah. And, again, I think, Blake, what I would say, why are we not? Yeah, let's do that. What I would say is they're definitely, their body language indicates they read the Riot Act. I mean, the looks on their faces, that's the way I looked when I knew my dad was really fucking mad at me. Really mad at me. And again, somebody said, why make what's making the puppets wait? They don't give a shit. Oh no, they gave a shit. They knew they had no choice but to be there and to take their medicine. That is 7 world leaders taking their medicine. And you're right, Brooks, it may be as simple as what was in there was simply saying, this is how much you will contribute every year to NATO, or something along those lines. And they were like, oh, we don't really want to do that. We want the U.S. to pay for it. Blake, what'd you think of that display? The body language in those pictures what did you think of that? Did it remind you of the last time you went to the principal's office?
Yeah, it's been a while, I suppose, but yeah, no, it's an awesome photo, and it looks like, I'm just guessing, Trump is telling them the reality of the situation in Ukraine and Russia, and probably briefing them on what his meeting with Putin and their perspective from the Russians. And they don't like it because they wanted to believe that Ukraine could somehow win and push back Putin, but they're going to have to take a loss on this. And they're just trying to figure out how much they're going to have to concede. Looks like he's got the map and he's showing, I don't know, maybe 20% of the country, and it could go more. And it will be, half of the whole thing if they don't, make a deal now. Otherwise, if Putin's going to get mad and they're going to keep playing games, then he's going to take the whole damn thing. So yeah, they know they have to lose. It's not a fun situation for them, but hey, they did it to themselves. So they could have prevented this entire thing, and now they got to deal with this PR disaster.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this war has always been about the Western bankers needing a war, wanting a war, provoking Putin into it. All Putin, I believe, is doing is trying to protect Russian-speaking people from these fucking Nazis, the Azov Battalion. That's what I think's going on. So, Marriott for $10. Thank you, over on the Rumble side of the house. I appreciate it. That's what I think he's doing, and I feel like it's justified. Steve, what do you think of that body language of those guys? And who do you think was in charge of that meeting in the Oval Office?
Well, Trump was doing the typical corporate power play where he makes people wait, get anxious, that type of thing before he brings them in to drop the hammer. It's a typical ploy that you use in negotiations. And if those leaders were not convinced that he didn't have the upper hand, they would have got up and left. I mean, one of the things I used to do when people would try that power play on me is I would say, my meeting was scheduled for 2:00, let's say, as an example. It is now 2:05. If I'm not in that room in 1 minute, I'm leaving. So that gave me the upper hand. But
right.
You notice not one of them did it. They all
that's a critically,
what?
That's a critically brilliant observation, Steve.
Right. I mean, they sat there, they behaved, they knew that he had them under the thumb, and they went in and they took their medicine, whatever that was. And because like I said, if any of them were strong leaders, if any of them knew that Trump didn't have anything on him, couldn't do anything to him, they got them left.
Yeah.
Like, they would. I'm the head of a nation. I'm not going to sit here and wait for you to let me come into your office.
Yeah, and it was interesting because, I mean, there was speculation that they were going to ambush Trump at this, that they were going to all break away and say, oh, his terms are unacceptable and we're going to support Ukraine. And they didn't do that. And I wonder if they didn't do that because they knew ahead of time, before they were shown what was in those boxes, what was going to happen if they did that. But it's pretty clear.
Well, they know. These intelligence agencies all communicate. They know what's going to happen before it's going to happen. Because like I said, if they would have had any idea that he was going to humiliate them, make them sit outside the Oval Office, wait for him to call them in, some of them probably wouldn't have shown up.
Yeah.
Or they would have had an excuse to send like an envoy instead of coming themselves. So they did expect that they could go in.
Well, it's also interesting. The Canadian,
go ahead.
The Canadian leader, the commie Canadian didn't show up.
Right.
He chose not to come, and he was initially invited. But yeah, go ahead, Steve.
No, I'm just saying that they were probably going to try to overwhelm them with their power and authority and all of their fancy political speak. And then when they got there, they were informed that this is what he was going to say, this is what he was going to do, and they would either cooperate or there would be big trouble.
Or else, whatever the or else is. And, look, I'm sorry, but when you look at those faces and look at them sitting in that row, one word comes to mind for me, and that word is shame. And I believe shame is something we don't have enough of in American culture anymore, especially for our kids and our teenagers. You know, a little bit of shaming is a good thing because it teaches you the right way to behave. And I have a feeling that whatever it was he told them is he's basically letting them know, we have all this on you. And if you don't go along with it, we're going to tell the whole world who you really are. We're going to tell Macron, we're going to tell the whole world that your wife butt fucks you and was a dude. So, you know, I really do think that's what it was, because I think he was showing them, this is what we have on you. You can either cooperate with this agenda and we will have peace in 2 weeks, or I can let everybody know what's in these boxes. I think that's what it was, but we shall see. All right. Another very interesting exchange having to do, I think, with the future, which is this, Brooks. We're going to take a look. This is a video exchange after some of the discussions were had with Zelensky in the Oval Office, and he and Trump are talking, and Trump says this. This is really interesting stuff.
Legal elections.
So you say
We're ready.
during the war you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now. So you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody, no more elections? Oh, that's good. I wonder what the fake
You like
news
this
is.
idea?
No, this is
No.
Speaking of news, I got a question for you. This sounds insane.
Legal elections.
One more time.
Say
We're ready.
during the war you can't.
I can't hear it at all.
So let me just say 3.5 years from now. So you mean if
Okay,
happen
hang
to
on.
be in a war with somebody, no more elections?
Okay, so what he said was, Zelensky said, well, we can't have an election because of the war. And he said, so what you're saying is, what you're saying is that if 3.5 years from now we're in a war, we don't have to have an election here. I can stay president. We don't have to have an election, is what he said. Now, yesterday I heard a lying piece of shit Democrat on, I think it was Fox or CNN, who said, Blake, he said, you know, Vladimir Zelensky is a sovereign leader, sovereign democratically elected leader of a nation, as opposed to this crazy dictator Putin. No, he's not, Blake, because he suspended the elections, he suspended the legislature. He's a complete fucking dictator. It was a complete, everything that he said was a lie. Yep. And here's the thing: not one of the talking heads, and there were 3 more of them, just like this show. Not one of them on Fox stepped up and said, actually, Zelensky's not elected. He may have been elected once, but he's suspended all elections and suspended the opposition party. Why didn't anybody say that? Because that's the corporate agenda, is that he's a democratically elected leader and Putin is a dictator. Brooks, what do you think about that?
You're exactly right. He only had one election, and that was the one that President Trump congratulated him about in his early first term. Since that time, he has not just suspended the elections, he jailed his political opposition.
Yeah.
He put them in prison.
Yeah. And Blake, what do you think of that little exchange? And I happen to think Trump's a little more serious about it than people might want to believe. But what did you think about that exchange?
I guess it went better than it did last time. But, I mean, Zelensky's he's a fraud. He's a reality star who used to play the president on TV. He is not a politician or a soldier. He was not qualified. He is a puppet of the West. They like him. But, yeah, this is ridiculous to everybody else. I don't know if those paying attention, but no, he's just not a credible guy. He's a weird, creepy character, and it needs to go away. And yes, and he's used himself as this authoritarian, shutting off political opposition, keeping himself in power. So he is joking about that because that's kind of this little cheat code that some of these authoritarians do to cling on to power. Is if your country is at war, oh, you got a loophole to stay in power and get even more powerful. So it's not a good precedent, but
it's true.
It's a fun exchange.
Yeah. Okay. So, Steve, what's your opinion about that particular exchange? And do you think Trump might be serious about running or just staying in the White House?
At this juncture, I'm going to say no, that he will continue with free elections in this country. After he leaves, that may be another story. But while he's here, he'll continue with free elections. He probably will not run again. And I think what he was saying, in my opinion, based on what I just heard, is he may be trying to force Zelensky to have elections and send people over to monitor those elections and get rid of him, get him out of office by reinstating the legislature, allowing people to freely run for office, and have an honest election in that country. So I think that's what he was kind of talking about.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Brooks, what do you think of that idea? That's
I think
really
it's an absolutely brilliant move. Absolutely brilliant. From the very beginning, since Victoria Nuland put him in office, he is reminded every single day, don't ever, not even for 1 minute, think that you are actually president of Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
You do what you're told to do, nothing more, nothing less, and you might get out of this alive with a little bit of money.
Well, that's the thing too. There was another moment where Trump said, we're going to have some discussions. We're going to talk about what lands Russia's going to get, what Ukraine's going to retain, or something along those lines. And he said stopping the war. We've got to stop this war. There's hundreds of thousands of people dying every month. There's thousands dying every day. And Zelensky went like that. He shook his head, I think involuntarily, because Zelensky, I think, knows that if this peace agreement happens, he's dead, because his only purpose to the deep state, his only function is to keep the war going and to be the poster boy to keep the war going at all costs, because that is where they are making most of their money. Do you think I'm crazy for thinking that?
No, not at all. In fact, not just Zelensky. 5 Ukrainian generals, 5 of them, had houses burned down in the Pacific Palisades. That means they own them. They are multimillionaires, 5 Ukrainian generals, off the money that's been flowing into that country. It's corrupt.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay. Hang on a second. I do want to do something else after this. Okay. But meantime, there was some interesting stuff that was there. There was this map showing the areas that Russia holds. Crimea is now back in Russia's hands, and these eastern provinces or parts of them, I think that's the Don River. Isn't that, Brooks, pretty much the boundary of the Don River is where they are?
It is. And with respect to Crimea, Putin built the 8th wonder of the world, which is the Kerch Strait Bridge. By the way, he also built the 7th wonder of the world, and that was the Aswan Dam.
Okay, wow, I did not know that. The Kerch Strait is the strait between Crimea and Turkey, or Turkey, I guess, if you're calling it that now, which is bullshit. But I was told in 2015 that Russia, as part of the Jassara agreements, I mean, I hate to keep bringing this up, but everything keeps coming true, is going to have these eastern provinces. What are they? Zaporizhia, Donbass, Kherson, and
Donetsk, Lugansk,
and Crimea. That those are all going to become Russian. Then I was told something else, which is a little bit more chilling, which is that Russia is going to also get the Baltic states. Now, I know you can't really see this map very well, but what I'm going to do, this is a colorized map. And what you can do with this is you simply click on Russia, the Russian Federation, and it colors the entire so-called Russian Federation. Now, this is Ukraine here, and parts of that are now Russian. But what I was told was Putin is also going to get the Baltic states. Now, for those of you who don't know, who didn't pay attention to geography, the Baltic states have been back and forth under Soviet rule for a long time. Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Poland is right here. Now, you notice that there's Russia here and there's Russia here. Does anybody know what that is? That is called Kaliningrad, And Kaliningrad is basically a city-state on the Baltic, which is part of Russia and always has been part of Russia and has stayed part of Russia. So if Putin wants to reunite Russia completely, he's going to take these eastern Russian provinces where people, by the way, the people have already voted in Zaporizhia and Donetsk and Donbass, all of these places, they've already voted to be part of Russia in what apparently are free elections. In order for him to connect Russia with Kaliningrad so that it is all one universal thing, what you would have to do is you would have to take Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. And that would be part, once again, of Greater Russia, the Russian Federation. So keeping that in mind and just simply keeping what I was told, again, 2015, 10 years ago now, what I want to ask you is this. There are rumors that NATO, including U.S. forces, are massing on the Polish border. Okay, they're on the Polish border. Let's give this another color. Let's make it blue. They're massing on the Polish border at the moment. And what the intention apparently is to invade into Lithuania, surround Kaliningrad, to eject the Russians or to prevent a Russian invasion. Now, this is just a rumor. But Brooks, we'll start with Brooks, and I want to go to Stephen Blake. What would happen if NATO did that? If NATO does that, Putin will respond. So let's imagine there's a peace agreement in Ukraine. That territory is all settled in the next 2 weeks. Guess what then? Then he can move all those troops and tanks and all those forces over to I think this is not Georgia. It's he can move it over to Belarus right here, and be ready to move in and save the people of Kaliningrad from the American invasion. Brooks, does that sound like a scenario that could show itself? Because look, I think Putin is playing a role. I think he's playing the bad guy. He's not really the bad guy. He's just doing what everybody worldwide has agreed to. What do you think the chances are of something like that happening? And what do you hear? Do you hear that the rumors of them massing NATO troops, French, British, even American troops on the Polish-Lithuanian border are true?
Yeah, what they're going to try to do is keep the Russians from spilling over that border and try to reestablish the Soviet Union. But they're just playing games. You have to understand, we fought a war for 30 years in this area. 27 million Russians died. They suffered worse than any other country at the hands of the Nazis. These Nazis were so evil. They were so bad. They were so ruthless. We forced them to surrender unconditionally twice. And they're still there. They're still there, and they're massing forces. And the West, namely the United States, has been feeding them money and feeding them weapons, and Victoria Nuland has been building their forces. It is why Putin invaded or did his special military operation in the first place. Because in March of 2022, that force, the Azov Battalion, was going to invade Crimea and wipe it from the face of the earth. They were going to take over the whole thing. So in February of 2022, Putin crossed the border and took them on and wiped them out in 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, they were gone. But those Nazis are still there. And if they don't secure this Baltic region, the Nazis will come back and they will start another war. And it'll be devastating. That's why he wants to lock it down.
Okay. Steve, does that seem like a plausible next step scenario if that's really what's going to happen? I mean, does it seem plausible that we'll have a war in the Baltic states next?
Well, see, I don't think so, because Putin's reprisal would be so quick and so severe, and especially if NATO's involved, to not only the Baltic states, but to the countries who are involved. Hopefully it won't be us, but he is going to show them that if you want to gang up on me, you want to use NATO against me, then not only am I going to strike here, I'm going to strike each and every one of you who participated.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could definitely happen. Blake, what are your thoughts on this particular issue? And does it concern you that this might happen?
I guess we'll see. Like if it's, finally get the Ukraine war over and then we're going to start another one with the Baltic states, that would not be desirable. I don't think, Putin, as much as they try to say he's, trying to expand and take over Europe and all that, I don't think any of that was ever true. I think he's just trying to liberate, the Russian people that want to be part of his federation, and not trying to try to take over Western Ukraine where they're not going to want to be part of Russia or Poland or any of those other countries. So I don't know where the Baltic states stand. Maybe if they feel threatened by NATO and corrupt Europe, maybe they could ally with Russia. I was unaware of that little strip of land. So
Kaliningrad. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know that existed. So if they want to build that bridge, as long as those areas want to vote to be a part of Russia, I don't have an issue with that. It's like there's a divorce happening and they want to go with their father, and instead of living with their crazy mother with Zelensky. So all of those regions want to stay with Russia that they've already taken over, they're already occupying. And if there's other spots, then I want the war to end and just those people to belong to whatever side they want to be a part of. So
yeah. Okay. Now I'm going to go deep off the deep end here into conspiracy land, Steve. And there was a rumor. By the way, let me see. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can over here first. Bear with me, guys. As usual, this is an extremely unprofessional live stream, and I'm just kind of winging it here. Let's see. There was a earlier summit a couple of days previous to that. Okay, wait a minute. Putin flyover. And Putin and Trump met in Alaska at the meeting, and there was a really fascinating display of, I guess what you would call it, American balls. Because when Putin got there, Trump met him on the red carpet, and he arranged for this to take place as they were walking up to the main stand and basically, about to meet the press. Let's take a look at this. There's Trump, there's Putin. Pretty interesting stuff. So that happened. And, a lot of people think it was a show of American power, but others don't. But the meeting in Alaska was interesting for another reason. And the reason is that a rumor broke out, a social media rumor that basically said that Vladimir Putin is going to bring a... Okay, well, let me preface this. Let me go solo here and preface this. As you know, one of the things I'm the most interested in and I'm talking about is the financial reset. And a week ago on Wednesday, I was told by a prominent person who is involved in the financial reset, I said, why isn't this thing happen? Because everything's ready financially for Iraq to revalue their currency and for all of us to have a lot of party money and for me to buy Blake that strip club in Nashville that he's going to manage and run for me and be living the dream. And he said to me a really weird thing. He said, the United States is demanding the return of a piece of art or artifact of some historical significance before they will let this happen. And the whole world profits from it. And so then the rumor came out 2 days later on Friday, the day of the meeting, that Vladimir Putin was going to be bringing something to to the summit with him. And that thing was this. It is a emerald and diamond ring from the Romanov dynasty, the Romanov family, the last kings, czars of Russia. He was there to give Melania a rare Romanov era emerald ring set in a cluster of diamonds tomorrow at the meeting with President Trump on 8/15 in Alaska. Now, in case you don't know, there are two theories about Melania. One is that Melania is, in fact, a Pleiadian from another planet. The other rumor is that she is a Romanov, and I'm going to let you take a really good look at Melania Trump. Now, the official Grok will tell you she comes from a Slovenian family. She's not related to them at all. Blah blah blah. Yada, yada, yada. The official birth records show this, but let me show you a picture of, I believe this is Anastasia Romanov, the missing Romanov. That's Anastasia with her father, the last known photo of the Romanov family. And if you do not, I didn't have time to put them side to side because I didn't know we were going to go here tonight. If that isn't Melania or Melania's grandmother, I don't know who it is. So it's other people have come on and said, no, he didn't give it to her. No, he didn't give it to her. But he decided not to give it to her. He didn't give it to her. But here's the thing: if everybody is agreeing to terms for whatever reason, it's not unreasonable for basically, I think we're going to enter an era where maybe kings are going to rule again. So this is bizarre. But then Melania wrote on Saturday a very long, nice thank you letter to Vladimir Putin, thanking him for a whole bunch of stuff. She didn't say thanks for the ring, Vlad, but she said some interesting things in that letter, and that would require a deep analysis. Do you think there's any possibility that this is true and that he gave her that ring and it is some acknowledgement that she is Russian royalty? And to me, I can't think of a better way to seal an alliance between modern Russia and ancient royal Russia than that. Am I crazy here, Steve? I know, Brooks, I know you want to talk, but Steve, tell me if I'm crazy.
Yes, you are.
You don't find
I'm calling bullshit on the whole freaking story.
You don't think
the only thing that I agree with you on 100% is in the relatively near future that countries will be controlled by kings / dictators who will take control and be their permanent head of the country. I do believe that. And I believe a lot of that's going to take place in European countries as well as Eastern Bloc countries. But as far as, her being royalty and needing the ring, that's all bullshit.
I think we're headed to the return of sovereign royalty again. Steve doesn't. Brooks, what do you think? And then we'll let the most grounded person on the show decide for us. But Steve, you have to admit, does Anastasia and Melania, do they not look exactly the same?
I mean, how much? I've spent a lot of time. I was one of the guys that when I initially joined the Marine Corps, we were fighting the Cold War. I mean, all of our training was to defeat the Russians. So I had a lot of dealings with Russians. I had a lot of dealing with people from the Ukraine, and a lot of them look alike. They're all related in some way. And you can, you talk about doppelgangers, especially with the women. A lot of them are just, as breathtakingly beautiful. And they could be sisters, and they're not they're not even closely related. So, the fact that she looks like somebody in history doesn't convince me that she's a member of royalty. She just looks like one of her ancestors.
One of her ancestors named Anastasia Romanov.
I can tell you, if I had time to search the internet, I could find 500 freaking people that looks exactly like Melina, that looks exactly like the freaking Anastasia. I mean, come on, it's bullshit. It's total bullshit.
You might be right.
Bullshit.
She's
Bullshit,
Eastern
Mike.
European. She's Eastern European. She looks exactly like her.
Oh,
all right.
Oh, I guarantee you I can. I guarantee you I
all
can.
right. I will challenge you to that,
You can
Steve.
find people that look
I'll
like
challenge
other
you to that.
people constantly. It's bullshit.
Okay,
It's
Brooks.
just more conspiracy.
Don't let Steve bully you because he's in Arkansas and you're in North Carolina. Don't let him bully you. What do you think?
I know I'm a student of history. When I go and look at history, the thing that I see that is the most important to these oligarchs, these royal families, is the bloodline. The bloodline is the most important thing. Even if they're an infant, even if they're adopted and they know they come from this line, the bloodline is the most important thing. And I believe it is the most important thing because demons require a certain DNA in order to come into this world and live. And I think royalty, for the large part of the human race, has been ruled by demons. If you go back through history and go back as many thousands of years as you want to, you're not going to find freedom and liberty anywhere. America is the first and only country to bring freedom and liberty to the world. And ever since 1775, 1776, and after the war in 1787, these royal families have been dedicated to destroying America. They want their world back.
Okay, that may be true. Blake, you're again the member of this team with the most common sense. Steve's kind of extremely at one end. I'm extremely at the other end. Brooks is sort of maybe. Well, what do you think, TV's?
I will agree with Brooks that I do believe that royal families are pure evil. I believe that 100%.
All right. Blake, what are your thoughts on this uncanny resemblance? Do you think it's just a coincidence? Whoops, sorry, wrong guy. There we go.
It could be. I mean, that is a pretty symbolic gesture, and that is a big sign of respect and generosity and seriousness about getting something done. So if that's what the intention was, that would be cool. That'd be a hell of a story. And I'm not sure where she comes from or her bloodlines or any of that. I mean, for all I know, she could be Pleiadian. I don't know. She's extremely smart and sophisticated, and she's got those beautiful electric blue eyes. I guess I can't rule any of that stuff out, so I could consider all of the possibilities. But I mean, the royals, you do make a very valid point there. At this human history, there hasn't been much of freedom, probably little pockets from like philosopher kings, but for the most part, it's been authoritarianism and monarchy, and they gave up a little concessions to the peasants in 1215 with the Magna Carta, very reluctantly, and then it was the Constitution, the United States that really laid the groundwork for people being run by God and not ruled by kings and other men.
Right.
So it's been quite a battle for history. Yeah, and Brooks is right. They want to take all of that back if they can, and they will certainly do everything to try. And they are still doing it, and they still look like they are winning this war.
They got a leg up on it, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't prove it, Steve, and I'll never be able to prove it. But when my financial reset friend said they're waiting for this artifact, then the story comes out that this artifact is going to be turned to Melania, and then the resemblance of her being a Romanov, and that it's a Romanov artifact. I feel like things like this are leaked for a reason. The only thing is, we haven't had any change in the financial world in the 6 days since then. So unless that happens, then I'm going to say, well, my friend's story's not true. That wasn't what was holding it up. But the apology or the thank you letter from Melania to Vladimir Putin, and I'll have to go through and read the content of that very carefully, makes me suspicious, because it's like everything is there to make that scenario real, except we don't know if she ever got the ring or not. I'll tell you what, Steve, I'm going to be looking to see if Melania ends up wearing that ring at some point in the future. I'm going to be watching, and if she does, you're going to have to come on the show and apologize to me for being wrong.
That doesn't make her the
will.
granddaughter
Yes,
of
it does.
Anastasia.
Yes, it
But
does.
she's wearing
Damn
a
it, yes,
stupid
it
ring.
does.
And by the way, people are complaining. Elected officials are complaining because Trump isn't going along with converting everything to digital currency. That's what's been going on behind the scenes lately,
Yes.
where they're all saying, "Hey, he's interfering with our plans to get rid of the cash system and go with the digital currency." And like I said, my conspiracy theory is by 2030 they want to have that in place, and it'll be voluntary, and by 2033 they're going to make it mandatory. So,
Well, but see, I don't think the digital,
but he's not playing their game.
right. But I think I don't think the digital currency gives you freedom. I think that's the instrument of enslavement. I think that's why
I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. I agree that Trump is interfering with them.
Yes.
Putting that into place and making us all slaves to the United States government, and at the stroke of a key, your life savings can be wiped out, or you say something they don't like. They can delete your bank account, or have your home repossessed, whatever the case may be. So, I'm happy that Trump is not going along with the digital currency, that he still believes in the cash system, as I do. Like I said,
yes,
I don't like the government or the bank or anybody else watching what I'm buying and getting involved in my business.
Watching what I'm buying, knowing what I'm spending, knowing what kind of porn I watch. You don't want any of that.
Well, I mean, with you, it's like, Taco Tuesday and Steak Monday and stuff like that. I mean, that's what they're looking at with you at this juncture.
Thank you, Paul from Montana. Thank you, Marriott, for the $10 Rumble Rants. We all really appreciate that. Okay. Any final thoughts on anything, Brooks?
Well, Trump knows that if the digital currency is tied to your digital ID, which is now the safe ID that's required in all 50 states, then they have linked your location with your monetization. And this is how they create, I think, very easy to create a digital ghetto. You have to stay inside this region. You can't just move to Florida because you want to. That's a red state. You can't just change voting districts. You have to stay in that area. And Trump's really trying to upset the apple cart too by trying to make the next census U.S. citizens only.
Yeah, and that will
Isn't that the way it should be?
Yeah.
Well,
it always should have been. It always should have been, and only because of thieving Democrats did illegal aliens get counted in the census.
Right. Yeah. It would be a huge. Well, I mean, there are whole states that the entire election system is run by Democrats. Right. And you're just not going to have free and fair elections if that's true.
No.
So the reason it's held by Democrats is because they're counting people in these districts, not citizens. So if you take the 18 million residents out of the census, now it's 44 million actually, you change the demographic of the election infrastructure. Will make it only possible for Republicans to represent and win.
Yeah, making it possible to win in districts or areas or states where they've never won before. There are states in the Northeast. There's 30 million Republicans living in like New Hampshire, Maine, Connecticut, Vermont, and there's not one House seat held by a Republican. And that is taxation and governance without representation because the districts are gerrymandered. So
I'm just glad Jasmine Crotchett, her district went away.
Yeah.
So we're never going to have to listen to her.
Oh, don't kid yourself, because Democrat judges are going to overturn this, and then they're going to have to fight and have that overruled and on and on and on. So that is a war that is not going to be over for a while. That's going to be fought for a while. Blake, any final thoughts before we head out for Taco Bell Tuesday?
Well, I know Trump is planning to do something about eliminating mail-in balloting, so that should be significant, I hope, enough to swing some things and keep the election honest as it should be. So we'll see on the midterms.
Yeah, Steve, any final thoughts besides Melania is not Anastasia's granddaughter? Anything else you feel strongly
No.
about?
Actually, no. I think it was a good show tonight. That's one of the reasons that we have Toxically Masculine Tuesday, is we can disagree.
Yep.
If we so choose, and nobody gets butthurt and goes off crying and doesn't want to talk next week.
Yeah. No, we will be back next week, guys. Again, thank you, Thank you, Paul, for the Rumble rants. And thank you again, Boy Dogs 2, and Laura, and Lee, and James, and JCW. Especially thank you, Wanda. That was great. BMX Dice Guy, Paul from Montana, Tristan Early, and Deb from Sacramento. Love you guys. Thanks. That's what I was looking for. And
I do believe
you,
that Blake was on the line most of the show, though, and I'm a little disappointed in his behavior.
Steve, if you fuck with me, I'm going to shoot you in the face again. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. We love you guys. Thanks for the show. I'll see you tomorrow on Tell the Truth Wednesday with Jen, and then Whiskey and Wisdom, the original Mark Z. And I hope Zester is back from Alaska tomorrow night. Have a good one. We love you. See you next Tuesday. See you. Yeah, okay. We're just going to end on that. No, we're not going to play that outro. We're not going to play anything. Bye. Thanks. Good night. Love you guys. Bye-bye.